Afternoon, everyone. This is Dylan Lutz with the National Weather Service here in Peachtree City. This will be your weekly weather briefing for the week starting October 31st, 2024. Yes, it is Halloween, and thankfully this won't be a very spooky briefing, given we've got some relatively quiet weather across the area right now. Speaking of that weather, just looking at the week ahead with some quick highlights. We've got a chance of some showers that are going to be primarily in northern and northwestern Georgia later tonight and into Friday as a cold front kind of approaches to the area but stalls out. Any amounts that we get with that should be light, and it should be light enough that it won't likely have much of an impact on any trick-or-treaters or anything like that. It's going to be cooler in some areas on Sunday as we have a wedge front that's going to move through, and otherwise our next chance of rain isn't going to be until the middle of next week. The other big story is that all of north and central Georgia now is considered to be quote unquote abnormally dry. That's a D0 in our drought monitor update. This October has been very, very dry. We've had many places that have seen their top 5 or top 10 driest Octobers on record. So that has led to some very quick expansion of drought-like conditions across the area. Looking at what's going on right now, just a quick view of the satellite. We've got some cloud cover that's over northern and western Georgia this afternoon. That's probably going to stick around into the evening hours. No real rain or anything expected with that. The biggest thing is that it may actually help keep our temperatures a little more moderate down in the 70s. Otherwise, we've got clear skies in central Georgia. We could see some afternoon cumulus, but it should warm up nicely. Here's our maximum temperature forecast and precip chances for today. As you can see, it's mostly dry, but our high temperatures for today are going to rise into right into the upper 70s, near 80 in many locations, and then down in central Georgia, we'll probably get closer to the mid 80s by this afternoon. Looking at this evening for our trick-or-treaters out there, good news, as I kind of hinted at before, it looks like it's going to be dry for most folks this evening, and given the temperature forecast, it should be a pretty pleasant day to go out, or I should say pretty pleasant night to go out and trick-or-treat for Halloween. However, we could have a couple of showers that do start to make their way into northwestern Georgia. Once again, we're really not expecting that rain until a bit later into the evening and into the overnight hours. So for that like far northwestern corners like Dade County, those areas, we could see rain start to creep in maybe as early as like 8 p.m. Though it may, and it's going to be more showery as it approaches our area, so it could be as late as say 11 p.m. before that gets started, and then it's going to kind of slowly spread east overnight. So once again, that probably means most people are starting to wrap up in terms of the trick-or-treating and stuff like that by those hours. So hopefully we won't have too much of an impact if we do get any showers. The other good news with this is even if we do get the rain, it should be very light. We're not expecting heavy amounts with this. Generally our forecast has around a tenth of an inch to maybe 2/10 of an inch at most over the course of the whole night in these areas. So these rain showers, if they do occur, should be fairly light. For tomorrow, going into Friday, that we have a cold front that's going to kind of be approaching the area. That cold front is expected to essentially stall out before it ever really gets here. And that means that we will have some rain chances and cloud cover that are associated with that. You can see that here across northern Georgia, but those rain chances aren't going to be too significant, kind of similar to what we're seeing tonight. So our highs tomorrow, as a result, it'll get nice and warm down in central Georgia and maybe into parts of the metro, but up in northern Georgia where we'll have more cloud cover and the potential for some of those rain showers, it could definitely be a little bit cooler into just the mid 70s or so. Going into Saturday, we don't have any rain chances or anything like that. That cold front basically stays kind of stalled right across our north, and you'll see this high pressure that's over the Great Lakes. That's going to be important as we go into Sunday because it's going to shift kind of over the northeast. Anytime we see that happen, that tends to give us a wedge front, basically this cooler air that comes trickling down the Appalachians and comes in from South Carolina into parts of northeast Georgia. The biggest thing that's going to, or the biggest impact that's going to have for us is going to be in terms of temperature. We're not expecting any rain with this or anything like that. Areas where this wedge front ends up moving through you, your temperatures definitely could end up being a bit lower. On the day, you may only see high temps that get into, say, the upper 60s or low 70s, rather than seeing those high temperatures get into the 70s and or upper 70s, maybe even into the low 80s. Where exactly that wedge front ends up, how far it ends up making into us and stuff like that, still a little bit of uncertainty given we're a couple of days away from it happening. Our next shot of rain next week, we're looking at Tuesday and more specifically into Wednesday and Thursday. Here's kind of the overall weather pattern that we're expecting to see. Basically, we're going to have a pretty big weather system that's going to move across the central part of the United States. And then there's going to be a pretty strong front potentially that's going to shift towards our area. Given how strong this weather system looks, it looks like it may be able to drop enough moisture such that we could still have some rain chances over our area Wednesday into Thursday. Don't count on it just yet. Right now, there's still a considerable amount of uncertainty around that, given that that is almost an entire week away at this point. But just wanted to highlight that we could maybe get some rain to kind of alleviate what I'm going to talk about next. What I'm going to talk about after the temperatures, which is going to be the drought. So here's our regional temperature forecast for the week. This is just giving you an idea of kind of an average of what our temperatures will look like across north and central Georgia. And you can see it's pretty consistent. There's a slight cool down Sunday into Monday, and that's going to be that the areas that are being impacted by that wedge front. But otherwise, we're pretty much in the mid 70s to 80s for highs, getting down into the upper 50s to lower 60s for lows, pretty much across north and central Georgia over the next 7 days. All right, so let's talk about that drought. So for this week, we did see a substantial kind of expansion of this abnormally dry. I've kind of highlighted that down at the bottom with the chart there. You can see that increase from the D0 to D4 goes from basically 14% of the state last week to almost 94% of the state this week. So basically we went from a very small portion of the state being in some kind of drought condition to almost every portion of the state being in some kind of drought condition. And a big part of that is because it has not rained in many locations in October, and where it has rained, that rain has been not very substantial at all. Many of our sites where we measure precipitation are experiencing either their driest October on record, or at the very least a top 5 or top 10 driest October on record. Macon has had no precipitation for the month of October, so that will tie them for the driest month on record, obviously. And then Atlanta has only seen a trace, and so that will also tie for the driest October on record. And then looking at several of our other places, Columbus, for instance, Athens, I believe, is in the top 5, and Columbus is in the top 10. So it's been dry. Pretty much the last time we had significant rainfall was unfortunately Hurricane Helene. So until we get some more appreciable rainfall to move into the state, expect this to continue to expand over the coming weeks. And that's it. Just to go back through it again, we've got a chance of some showers in North Georgia tonight, and especially Northwest Georgia tonight with that cold front approaching the area. Amounts should be light, and we don't expect that it should impact any kind of trick-or-treaters or anything like that. It's going to be cooler in some areas on Sunday, as we do have a wedge front that's going to move through. Our next chance rain is going to be the middle of next week, and as I just finished up saying, it's been very dry, and so we've seen a pretty big expansion of our normally dry areas in our drought monitor update this week because October has just been so dry. All right, that's all we have for this week. Here's our information. If you need to reach out to us, please feel free to hit us up on any of these locations. We try to monitor them all. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week.